Hi everyone. Welcome back to Cozy English Conversation. I'm Alice.
And I'm Charlie. Thank you for spending this time with us. It always feels like we're meeting up in a calm little corner, having a gentle conversation about life.
And I'm really glad you're here today. I hope you're somewhere comfortable. Maybe with a warm drink or a quiet moment just for yourself.
Today's topic is something many people struggle with, even in silence.
We're talking about comparing yourself to others. It's something almost everyone does, even if they don't admit it. Sometimes we compare simple things like skills or progress, and sometimes we compare things we don't even talk about, like confidence or lifestyle.
Right. And with social media, comparison happens even faster. You can wake up feeling okay, and then suddenly you see someone your age traveling the world or starting a successful business, and you think you're falling behind. It can happen so quickly.
And the strange part is, the moment before that, you were perfectly fine. But one glance, one post, one thought, and everything changes. That's why we wanted to talk about this today. Comparison is human, but it doesn't have to control us. So, I want to start with something personal. When I was in my early 20s, I compared myself to others constantly. I had friends who seemed so far ahead. One friend got her dream job immediately after graduation. Another traveled all over the world. Another started a business that grew quickly. Meanwhile, I felt like I was still trying to understand myself. I didn't know my direction yet. I didn't know my strengths. I didn't even know what kind of life I wanted. I remember scrolling through Instagram at night and seeing someone announce something amazing. And the first thought that came to my mind was, maybe I'm moving too slowly. I even started to avoid opening social media because every time I did, I felt smaller. And here's something I never forget. One night during a family dinner, someone asked me, "So Alice, what big thing are you doing next?" I didn't have an answer. All I had were small things, learning new habits, taking care of myself, reading, growing quietly. But I felt like those things didn't count. That night I realized something important. I wasn't unhappy with my life. I was only unhappy because I was comparing it to someone else's idea of success. And I didn't want to live like that. So I started asking myself new questions. What actually makes me happy? What pace feels natural to me? What does success look like for my own heart? And slowly, I began to focus more on my journey instead of others. I started appreciating small progress, sleeping better, feeling calmer, learning new things, becoming more patient with myself. These were real wins. They just didn't look exciting on social media. I still compare sometimes. I think most people do. But now, I don't let it lead my life. I come back to my own path, and I remind myself that my journey doesn't need to look like anyone else's.
I relate to a lot of what you said. Growing up, I had a cousin who was good at everything. He always had perfect grades, he won awards, he was confident, and the adults around me admired him. Almost every holiday, someone in the family would say something like, "Charlie, why don't you try to be more like him?" And even though they didn't mean to hurt me, it made me feel like I was always behind. Even when I did well, it felt like it wasn't as good as his achievements. As an adult, that habit stayed with me. I compared everything: work, progress, confidence, even personality. There was one moment I remember clearly. I was sitting in a cafe planning my week, and I overheard two people talking about buying homes and making big investments. Suddenly, I felt like I wasn't doing enough in my own life. That feeling followed me the entire day. I kept thinking, why am I so far behind? Why am I not like them? Even though, honestly, I didn't even want the same things they wanted. But something changed later that night. A friend messaged me saying, "Thank you for listening yesterday. You really helped me." And I realized something. My cousin never received messages like that. But I did. People valued my presence, my listening, my kindness. Qualities that don't show up in awards or achievements. In that moment, I understood that I had been measuring myself with the wrong scale. I wasn't meant to be like my cousin. I was meant to be me. A few months later, I was journaling, and I wrote a sentence without planning it. "I don't want his life. I want mine." That sentence changed a lot for me. Now, I still compare myself sometimes, but when it happens, I pause and remind myself. My path is allowed to be different. My timing is allowed to be different. I don't need to match anyone else.
You know what's interesting? When we compare ourselves, we usually compare our weakest moments to someone else's strongest moments.
Yes, and it's always unfair. We look at someone's highlight, but forget we're seeing only a tiny piece of their life.
Right. And sometimes that highlight is carefully chosen or edited. We don't see their stress, their fear, or their mistakes.
One thing that helps me is asking myself a simple question: is this the full story? It never is. And remembering that helps me step back.
That's a really good point. Another thing I remind myself is that every person has a different timeline. There's no universal schedule for success, relationships, personal growth, or anything else. Some people find their path early, others find it later.
Exactly. And moving slower doesn't mean moving wrong. I think the pressure comes from believing we must reach certain milestones by a certain age.
Yes. And it's completely unnecessary. Growth doesn't follow a clock.
Something else that helps is focusing on my lane. Instead of asking, "What are others doing?" I ask, "What is the next step I can take today?"
I really like that. Because comparison makes us think we must leap forward. But often we only need one small step.
Another thing that reduces comparison is celebrating small wins. People think only big achievements matter, but small progress is the real foundation of change.
Yes. Resting when you're tired is progress. Learning a new habit is progress. Becoming a little kinder to yourself is progress. These things aren't big or loud, but they matter.
Here's another idea. When you feel jealous or envious, instead of judging yourself, ask what that feeling is trying to show you.
Exactly. Sometimes envy is not a bad thing. It can be information. Maybe it shows you something you want or something you're missing.
And instead of thinking, "Why don't I have that?" you can think, "What does this tell me about what I value?"
Yes, that mindset turns comparison into reflection rather than self-criticism.
And most importantly, be gentle with yourself. Comparing is a natural human behavior. If you notice yourself doing it, don't attack yourself for it. Just gently return to your own path.
Agreed. And one more thing, it's helpful to compare yourself to your past self instead of someone else. Look at how far you've come, not how far someone else is ahead.
That's the only comparison that really supports growth. Your past self is the right reference, not someone else's highlight reel.
Thank you for spending this time with us today. If you've been comparing yourself lately, I hope this conversation helps you remember that your journey doesn't need to match anyone else's.
Yes, you have your own pace, your own strengths, your own season of growth. Your story is not late, not wrong, and not less. It's simply yours.
If this episode brought you comfort, please like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to Cozy English Conversation. Tell us in the comments, what is one thing you appreciate about your own journey?
Take care of your heart, move gently, and stay true to your path.
We'll see you in the next episode. Stay cozy, see you soon.